All right, Bismillah. Successful storytelling. Basically, how to capture them, body, mind, and soul at the start of each session. So we should say body, mind, heart, and soul. Because really, isn't that true? For now that we look at it, it's not just body, mind, and soul. It's body, mind, heart, and soul.
Yeah.
That would be more Islamic. All right. So this is the beginning. Oops, the beginning step is you start with have you ever felt is usually a good way because you get to people's feelings straight away. But have you ever? So basically, you're going to grab their attention by connecting with their challenge and how they see it, or whatever it is, because this can be used in so many different formats. I use it for my Facebook Lives. I use it to start my lessons with the kids at school. They love it. When I use this technique with the kids, they're so much more engaged in the lesson because now they see how the lesson connects to them. So have you ever felt is grabbing their attention, connecting them to themselves, so making it relevant to them. So have you ever felt like you just can't say no to some people and you hate being around them because you feel forced to do what they say? I think this is the rescuer, people pleaser kind of pattern here that a lot of people, I was trying to think of an example. So that's the example. Now, somebody who is in people pleaser mode is going to relate to that, right? Because they think they're toxic people because these people are demanding too much of them. And it's not that the people are too demanding, it's just that they can't say no. So then the next thing is I have found that, and this is where there's obviously going in the wrong direction. We turn that upside down with something that they haven't thought of before, haven't heard before, that challenges their thinking. So it's like really grabbing their attention that, hang on a minute, I better listen to this because I've never heard it like this before. So they've all been told, get rid of the toxic people around them, right? So turning that upside down could be, I've found that it's actually possible to be around these people, not to have to say yes to everything they say, and that most of the time they're okay with it. So their mind is thinking that they can't say no because these people are bullies or forceful or whatever, which is, we understand thought in the moment because our experience afterwards is different, right? So that's kind of turning it upside down for them, is showing them the possibility of something different. Another way I might turn that one upside down is saying that, I thought of it a minute ago and it went out of my head. Never mind. We'll have another example in a minute.
The husband one, that you can stay with your husband.
Sorry?
The husband one.
No, it was another thing that you could say that would turn it upside down.
For the same okay.
Yeah, not an example. It was more a challenging of their thinking, more about, I had a way of putting it, and then now if I say it the way it's in my head, it's going to just sound harsh. So it popped into my head how you could say that it's all in your head. It's not actually them. But now I can't remember because it went in and out of my head how I was going to put that. So I wouldn't say that to somebody like that because that would disconnect them and put them off, right? I wouldn't say it like that. Oh, it's all in your head. It's not them at all. Something maybe like, I have found that with a simple shift in my own thinking that I discovered these people, that it was very easy to actually say no to these people, something along those lines. Because that would also shock them. It's like, how could it be easy to say no to people who are very insistent, right? So something along those lines. It turns upside down their thinking. So it's really now we've grabbed their attention to another level. Then we get their attention to the next level again. Research tells us that. So back it up with research, or we can back it up with Quran. So it doesn't have to be research. It could be a verse from the Quran or a hadith or something, if depending on what the situation is. I just made this research up, but research tells us that 84% of people who have understood the concept of separate realities found they were able to have a more positive relationship with people they used to find difficult, as well as feel confident to speak their truth. It's a made up stat, but you would do real research or something like that. There was a time when, and then this is where we now weave in the story. So we follow it with a story that gives them anecdotal evidence to support what we just said, a very human understanding of what we just said. So it's like making it, understandable, but we show them that we understand what we're talking about from our own personal experience. So here, there was a time when I struggled to say no to people who came to me for advice or help. I felt responsible to help them myself, and I didn't have room to type it all in, so I was going to just finish it off for you here. And then I ended up sometimes actually giving them the wrong advice because it wasn't the right thing for me to actually help them. But I felt really trapped, like I had to help them. In fact, it almost felt painful inside if I didn't. And what happened was one day, I got a deeper understanding of how our human experience works. That, in fact, that feeling that was compelling me to help them was just coming from thought in the moment. And when I could see that it was really just thought and it wasn't something that made it like I had to help them, I was able to actually step back and go, well, actually, is it the right thing to help them? That sometimes people actually need to figure it out for themselves. That, yes, we can be supportive of them figuring it out, but really our advice isn't helpful. Our advice is distracting them from actually resolving it themselves. And sometimes I came to realize that I wasn't the best person to help them, that it would be better to find someone who understood what they were going through better. And so I was able to now think clearly about their situation and whether me helping them or not was the right thing to do. So today I want to teach you, so the next step is then, this is the call to action. So we've convinced them we've captured their attention by making it relevant to them. We've then turned it upside down, so now they want to know more. We've then provided them proof through Quran or evidence, scientific evidence, that what we're talking about is true, it's not made up. And then we've followed it with a story that backs it up. And so now we can call them to action. And so we conclude with either teaching them something or inviting them to something. So this is the call to action to motivate them to do what you ask of them. So today I want to invite you to join my free masterclass where I'll be teaching you about the psychological truth, the inside out paradigm. So you can say no when you mean no and yes when you mean it. Click on the link below so you can join. That's an example of a call to action. So I did another one here, which have you ever felt like the worst mum in the world because your child won't sit still in the masjid? I found that children's behaviour isn't actually the problem, and that we have been harming them when we use rewards and consequences to manage it. That's going to turn them on their heads, isn't it? Research tells us when a child has unresolved challenges going on that their behaviour is affected in a number of ways. They're unable to think well and make good decisions. There was a time when my son came home from school really angry. His behaviour was disrespectful and aggressive. I could have given him consequences for his behaviour. Instead, I connected with him to help him get back on track. When he was able to tell me what had gone on, it was apparent he'd experienced a real injustice at school, and punishing him would have been harming him more. Today, I want to teach you about what is really happening when a child misbehaves. See how it flows? So, your turn. I want you to try and give it a go.